Guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I am doing a video that I think I've talked about doing for 5 months, 6 months on my channel now, and that is showing you guys what is in my go-to 9 shadow Z palette. Now, over the past few years that I've been working with makeup and doing my couple of channels that I've tried now on YouTube, including this one, I've had different variations of this, but this is definitely the setup that's lasted me the longest. I used to have a regular Z palette, the one that stores the 35 shadows, or maybe it was the 28. I can't remember if it was the smaller or the extra large one from Z palette, but I had one of those, and I used to use like 35 shadows, and then I realized I wasn't using my palettes enough, so I condensed it down back in the summer to this 9 shadow version, and I re-updated it at the beginning of fall, and I haven't changed it since then. So I thought I'd share with you guys what's in this palette since I've been putting it off for a long time now. So let's just really quickly go through the shadows that I have in here and kind of what I like to use them for and what some of my pairings are between these. The nice thing is there's only one shimmer shade in here, so usually I do these for day-to-day looks where I just need a little bit of color on my eyes. It's easy to keep it nice and neutral if I stick to the far left, and then if I'm on the far right, it's a little bit more like going out for dinner kind of thing, and then the middle is like my colorful option. So let me go through and tell you guys about all these shadows, and unintentionally I realized as I was writing them down, all but one of them are Makeup Geek. Mostly because Makeup Geek were some of the first single eyeshadows I ever bought, so some of these are the second or third repurchase at this point since some of them have been around for so long, but it takes a while to use them up. The top 2 up here have already hit pan, so I probably will have to reorder those in the future, except I can't with this one, which breaks my heart because Makeup Geek discontinued it. But enough about me rambling, let's get into what the shades are. So the first shade I have in here, which is up at the top, is the shade Blanc by ABH. Now this for me is a really good one to set all over my lid. So if I've put down concealer and I want to set it, rather than using like the Hourglass setting powder or something like that, I'll go in with the ABH. That way it's also going to work as a blending shade, especially if I'm going outside of this palette and using colorful shadows. This is a great shade to have on hand since it's almost white, but it's just a little bit closer to my skin tone, as you can see. So it's a great shade for that. The middle shade in the top is Beaches and Cream by Makeup Geek, which is sadly now discontinued, and I'm heartbroken, so I'm going to have to see if I can find a dupe somewhere in my single shadow collection to replace this guy, because I've already hit pan right there in the middle, so it's only a matter of time until I finish the whole pan up. I'm so sad. But this was one of the first 5 eyeshadows I ever bought from Makeup Geek. I think this is my 3rd pan now. I should have just bought them in bulk when I found out they were discontinuing it, but I think by that point it had already sold out because it's such a popular shade. I feel like Beaches and Cream and Peach Smoothie and Cocoa Bear maybe, or Bitten, are like the top 3 most popular shades that Makeup Geek has. So it was really sad to hear that Beaches and Cream was discontinued, but it's okay. I'll find a replacement somewhere for it. I usually use that as a transition shade. That's usually the kind of thing where if I did end up setting my lid with a regular face setting powder, I go in with this guy as a slightly darker than my skin tone shade to begin as a blending crease shade. The only shimmer shade I have in here is a Makeup Geek foiled shadow, and this is Starry Eye. This is hands down my favorite of the foiled shadows. It's just very wearable on a day-to-day basis, as well as for more glammed up looks. So that's why it chills in this palette, because it's easy to work with the day-to-day looks or making it a little bit smokier and intense for night. The only shade it doesn't really look right with in here is this kind of orangey shade down here, but other than that it works with the other 7 shadows really well. So I love using that guy, and plus I found that I was always reaching for something shimmery a lot, so I figured I'd just toss one in here, which is why this isn't an all matte palette. Starting with the second row, the first one here, Makeup Geek. All the rest of these are Makeup Geek. This is the only one that's not. So this one is the shade Creme Brûlée, a really great neutral, kind of leaning towards cool tone. It's definitely not a warm tone shade, but I love this one as a deeper version of Beaches and Cream up here. So this one's really nice for that purpose, or if I'm going for a slightly darker kind of look, this is also great for that. The one in the middle is the shade Chickadee, which is just a really nice yellow. It's not as intense as the yellow currently on my eyes up here is. This was more of an electric yellow. This is more of like a mustard kind of yellow, and I love mustard yellow. So that's why I threw this guy in here, to kind of be able to warm up some eye looks, and especially since there are some other warmer shades in here, this is a great blending shade to have on hand for those looks as well. The last one in the middle row is the shade Cocoa Bear by Makeup Geek. Like I said before, one of the top selling shadows they have. This is a nice warmer toned brown. It's got a red undertone to it, so it works well with the yellow, it works well with these guys, and again, it kind of works with this depending on what other shades you're pairing with these two. So great option, saying a little bit to be able to darken up the outer corners, kind of like what I've done here. So love this guy. And then we're on to the third row here across the bottom. First up, we have Frappe, which is definitely a cooler toned, darker brown. It doesn't look quite as dark as Cocoa Bear does. I feel like I'm having a hard time. This is definitely not as dark as Cocoa Bear is, but it's definitely darker than Creme Brûlée. So when I'm going for a natural look, I'm usually pairing these four together. And this is the guy going in the outer corner, just because it's going to be softer. And day to day, I do actually prefer cooler toned shadows. I like them a lot with my skin tone because I'm a little bit fair, cooler toned. The one in the middle is Morocco, and this is because I felt if I was putting this yellow in here, I needed another bright shade that was darker. So I went with kind of an orangey brown shade, which is exactly what Morocco is. On camera, it's looking a lot more brown than orange, but it's definitely a more bright and vibrant color. Again, really great going into summer to have on hand. But that's that guy. And then the last one here on the end is Cabin Fever. Now, one of the first few videos I did on my new channel was swatching the new Makeup Geek shades that have been launched for the fall. I think it was now 3 years ago. Oh my god, was it 3 years ago? No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was. It had to have been. It would have been fall 26, almost 3 years ago. Might have only been 2. I can't remember anymore. But this was one of the shadows released in that launch, along with like Faux Fur and Early Bird and all those. But this is one of them, and I love this guy. This is a very true neutral brown. You can definitely see in the pan it's a little bit cooler tone than Cocoa Bear is, but it's still also a little bit warmer than, say, Frappe over here. So it's still a nice dark shade to have. It'll go with kind of any of these shades, which is why I threw it in here. I kind of tried to pick things that were as close to neutral as I could, and then threw in a couple of things that were cooler and warmer to balance it all out. But this is definitely like a, this is like where when I'm traveling in the next month or so, I'm bringing this with me, and probably a palette as well, just to have 2 options on hand. But usually I take this thing, and then what I'll do is I'll reach in my other Z palettes for extra additional shades if I'm looking for colors, if I'm looking for more shimmers. So it's definitely an interesting thing to get to do, and I strongly encourage anybody who has single shadows or wants to, that this is a great place to start. So if you're looking at ABH or Makeup Geek or ColourPop even, because all those brands make such great single shadows now, I feel like single shadows are kind of coming back, and I kind of want to thank ColourPop for that, because I feel like they revitalized the love for that, because a lot of people, they fell by the wayside, people weren't really interested. But since ColourPop started releasing their pressed shadows, everyone's been clamoring to get those again. So it's nice to see the revitalization for these, and I'm excited to do more. I skipped my spring Z palette series because what I actually did was, instead of doing a new Z palette, I was testing out the single shadows I bought from Makeup Geek, which was, I think, not my last haul, but the haul before that, which I'll link up here for you guys if you didn't see that video. But I bought a whole bunch of new shadows from Makeup Geek, so those were kind of chilling my spring Z palette, which is why I didn't have one up to share with you guys. But I will definitely be doing a summer Z palette, and I'll probably be releasing that sometime in the beginning of June. So I've got a few things planned, coming up, getting ready, and I'm super excited to be doing so. But I think that's everything I wanted to share with you guys about this. If you guys have further questions about my Z palette, I kind of gave you some of the pairings I do for it, but if you guys want to know more, how I curated, how I picked them, I'm happy to do that for you guys. And I kind of want to reorganize my actual Z palettes themselves with my colors that are not part of this. I really want to reorganize those palettes, but I'm thinking I might do that as an actual video on my channel. I might film that today, to be honest. So I don't know, we'll see. I think I do. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you aren't already, please subscribe to my channel. It's super easy, fast to do. Just click the little subscribe button down below, hit the notification bell if you want to know when I'm uploading my videos. And if you enjoy seeing Z palette videos and you've liked my spring Z, not my spring Z palettes, if you like my seasonal Z palette videos that I've been doing as well, I'll link that playlist up here for you to check out. This is definitely a great series. I love doing it. I just happen to not have one for spring this year. But again, like I said, kicking it up in the summer. And while you are giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing, while you're down there, leave me your questions about Z palettes in general. And maybe I'll look to answer some of those in my reorganization of my Z palette video, which I don't know if or when that'll be going up. I'm in the process of starting to pre-record a lot of videos because I'm about to be going out of town for some events coming up, and I think I'm going to do kind of a chatty sort of get ready with me video, just because I have a lot of things I want to talk about, especially with spring coming to a close and summer starting to wind up. I kind of want to talk to you guys about a lot of things. So yeah, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!